Hello, everybody. Welcome to Haunted Vortex.
So how is everyone tonight?
Doing great. Enjoying the beautiful weather.
I'm trying to swallow this burger.
So where'd this burger come from suddenly?
Sonic. It came from next door. So
yeah next door.
Oh. Well, I know where that is. I suggest their strawberry sundae. Their ice cream is very creamy.
Yeah, I had that the other day. It was delicious.
Hi, Barb.
So tonight we're doing a special show. We are going to be having some of our guests come in and tell us some of their paranormal stories. And to kick us off, do any of you, either one of you, have a scary story or a paranormal story you want to share?
You're talking to us, right?
Yes.
Rex, you want to go first there, buddy?
I guess it'd have to be the very first one I had. And a lot of people that have seen me and follow AOP, I was between 4 and 5 when we lived in a house in Raleigh, Iowa. And one night, I'll make the Reader's Digest version of this. One night, 2 figures appeared in my room, and they were like smoke, a vapor, and all I could see was where their eyes were supposed to be, and I could hear them in my head telling me the most disturbing, disgusting, awful things that no 4-year-old should ever hear. And I've never repeated what they said, and I won't. And this went on for a couple of months, and every night they would show up and they would tell me to get off the bed, come towards them. And no, I never did get off the bed. Then it started escalating because I wasn't listening to them. I would try to ignore them as best I could for being as young as I was. And so it escalated. They started getting more agitated. And it was disturbing because, you tell your parents, but when you're that age, they're just going to tell you you're dreaming. You just had a nightmare. So one night they gotten so upset with me, I'd gone to town with my mom and gotten a bunch of new Hot Wheels, and I lined them up on my dresser across the room, which was about 10 to 12 feet away. And so they're telling me these things and they're demanding me to do it. And I actually turned and looked at the corner because my bed was up in the corner underneath the window. And all of a sudden the cars on my dresser started flying across the room one by one. And it was like they hit an invisible wall and fell to the floor, which made them very upset. That's when at the foot of my bed, 2 more spirits showed up, and I could hear them in my head, and I could tell you exactly what they looked like. Well, they were just a shadow, but he was like wearing a bowler. You could tell he was wearing a suit, and he had a cane, and she had her hair and you could see the dress, the outline of the dress, and she had a big bustle. And they were telling me, don't worry, we'll always be there for you. And I called them the good ones, and of course, the other ones, the bad ones. Well, this went on till we moved away when I was 8 years old. And it happened every single night for over 4 years. And when we moved, I never, ever seen either one of the entities ever again until about 4 or 5 years ago. I was in my bedroom reading a book, and then all of a sudden I seen this beautiful goldish yellow light behind my book. And I'm wide awake, and I'm like pulling the book down, and there were the good ones standing at the foot of my bed, but I could see them. They weren't a shadow anymore. He had a bowler on, had a handlebar mustache, he had a pinstripe suit and the big, starched collar. He had spats on and a cane. She had a beautiful royal blue dress with lace on it, a big bustle. She was absolutely beautiful. And I can see them as well as I'm seeing you guys now. And I was just kind of sitting there in awe because, you're looking at 50 years. I'd never had any contact with them. Each one of them reached down, put their hand on each of them on one of my legs, and they spoke, and they said, "Don't worry, we will always be here for you." And that's when they started to kind of fade back into the gold light, and then they were gone. And I could physically feel them touching me as well.
Well, thank you for opening up this event with everybody. Now, I want to go through and introduce everyone. You want to add Chris in since he's part of our...
Yeah.
So everybody can introduce themselves. Carl, why don't you start since you're in the right spot to do that?
Okay. I'm Carl Albertson. I'm the owner and producer of the Billerites Network, where this is live at on one of the platforms. Also the founder of CC Paranormal Team, and also the host of Paranormal Nation Radio Not So Normal with my co-hosts Denise and Ron. So you'll see me all over the network on different shows at different times.
And I'm Denise, and Ron's back there. And
I'll be there in a minute. I hear everything.
He hears everything. So I'm actually the face of the Paranormal Pride and Carl's co-host, as he said, and I help out with whatever needs to be helped out with that somebody else isn't already taken care of.
Yep.
So, Rex.
Hi, I am Rex Nielsen. I'm also on the network here. My son and I have a show on Saturday nights called Music, Movies, and Maybe More. And I am the founder of All Out Paranormal. And I've been out of the game for about a year, but we're coming back with All Out Paranormal, bigger and better than it's ever been. That's it in a nutshell.
Yep.
Chris.
What's up, guys? I'm late to the game. Hopefully, can you hear me well?
Yes, hear you great, Chris.
Beautiful. My name is Christopher Houston. I've been in the paranormal for 32 years now. I hosted a radio show called Paranormal Truth and Reality through Ohio and several other areas for about 15 of that. I joined the Bill of Rights Networks about, I think 5 weeks ago, somewhere around there.
Something like that.
With a show called No BS, we cover a little bit of everything from the paranormal to life in general. And we just we talk about the truth, the reality, and what people want to say, but most people don't actually get a chance to say because it's such a, how do you put that politely, politically correct world these days.
Yeah.
So there has to be that middleman that's willing to stand there and say, hey, you know what? I know you can't say it, but by golly, I can, and I can say it in a way where it's not going to offend anybody, but it's exactly what you're thinking about.
Hey, I want to offend some. I want to offend some. But go ahead, Brandon.
Hey, guys. I'm Brandon Cooper. I'm host of Shaman Sundays on this network every Sunday. I have been in the paranormal field probably 15 plus years. I am a team member with Supernatural Inc. and that's with Katie Stafford. I don't know if anybody watched Ghost of the Devil's Perch. I know I didn't.
KD's an awesome guy.
But I'm not going to tell him you said that.
Was that an EVP?
Yeah, right. Yeah. That was
That was a paid statement.
Was that a paid endorsement?
Yeah.
That was yeah.
That was one of the ink boxes running in the background.
That's right.
Seriously, though, KD is an awesome guy. I love him.
Yeah, he's good people. I'll see if he can come over here in a minute. I'm actually sitting in our brand new shop. Oh, I do want to say that Supernatural Inc. just became an official LLC.
Sweet.
And we
Nice.
just launched our online website. So if anybody wants to get any of our products, it's super easy now.
Yeah, send it over to me. I'll promote it for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, thanks, man.
Well, we should be having a commercial if we don't already have one to share on the network.
Yeah, he's supposed to be making his one.
Well, I'll get it tonight.
Get on that, and then we'll meet up tomorrow for lunch sometime, and we'll
I'm
be
good with that.
So this is our paranormal leg or arm, however you want to say it, of the network. And I hope you guys enjoy tonight. Our first guest tonight is a longtime listener and guest of the network, Cheryl Ann Elliott Fletcher. She's got some lovely stories she's going to share. And so we're going to go ahead and bring her up and get her started. So welcome, Cheryl Ann, to Haunted Vortex.
Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, thanks for having me. It's a
Great.
pleasure to be on your show. And really interesting backgrounds I'm hearing tonight, and I'm really quite impressed with everybody's education and experiences that they've had throughout the course of their paranormal journeys. And well, what I do, just so you know, is I'm a renowned psychic medium and have been for over 50 years. My gift is because of a death situation when I was 11 years of age. And of course, when I came back, it was kind of creepy. I had experiences at the age of 11 that would floor you. The first one I had, the most creepy thing that happened to me was the death of my brother, which I foresaw and explained to my family it was going to happen. And of course, my mother didn't want to know about that. And unfortunately, he did end up, I saw the vision. The first vision I had was in July of 1971. And the first vision I had after having my death experience was my brother's death. And I saw him in a casket. And I knew he was going to die. And it wasn't too far down the road in January where he had actually committed suicide. I had explained to my mom the casket, what it would look like, what happened to Pat, and everything, and it came true. That was my first horrific, scary story about becoming who I am today, which I am very renowned. I've worked in a lot of ghost hunting events. I've headed many teams to provide the accurate information from the afterlife, and it's proven. It's just astounding. Proven on not only audio, but being shot in documentaries, different locations where I was able to effectively communicate with the afterlife. It was all recorded, and the things that you would hear on the audio were things that I would say, and then it was recorded, so it was kind of validated what's happened to me, and being able to be strong in what I do and faithful in what I do. So that's pretty much about me. But some of the scary stories, do you want me to tell those right now, Denise?
Yeah.
A couple of them.
Absolutely.
Oh my God. I'm telling you what, when I'm done with this book I'm writing, I think there's going to be a lot of freaked out people. But anyway, so one of my first stories I want to talk about tonight would be, everybody says, and I've heard this so many times, and Denise knows this too when I say this, that there's a lot of people in the world that you just can't fathom the idea that possession really does happen. And I'm here to tell you I witnessed it to the point where it scared the living hell out of me. And being a psychic, knowing ahead of time these things were going to happen, it scared me to the point where I realized how deep my faith was. It was the only thing that kept me from having a transferred demonic situation happen to me. My niece, short story here, my niece became possessed. I was summoned by her girlfriend mom because she was having trouble with Jamie, my niece, her good friend, CJ. And so I went to the house. The minute I got out of the car, I threw up. That's what happens to me when I'm dealing with demonic situations or possession. I get really sick. And the minute I threw up, I knew something was completely off. And as I walked up to the house, I saw CJ at the door. Jamie had a big picture window. I could see Jamie way over there on the other side, and she was approaching CJ. But the second I got up to the door, here was Jamie right behind CJ, and it was unbearably fast that she went from that area to the house to right behind CJ. And that terrified me. And so as I approached through the house, my own niece, my own blood, said to me, "What the hell are you doing here?" And I said, "I think you know why I'm here." And Jamie, of course, knows everything about me, all about what I do in life. And she proceeded to follow me to the basement because a lot of her things that had happened to her, CJ noticed was this assault. That was the biggest thing. And in the basement where she was hanging out, completely dark. Jamie hadn't bathed for 7 days. She was filthy. She stunk. Got into the basement, sat down on the couch, and as CJ said, as I watched you walk down the stairway, Cheryl, something behind you took your hair and pulled it up. And I said, "Yeah, I know. I felt that." So I went down the stairs, and sure enough, Jamie sat down. We started talking. I was asking her questions about how she felt. She wouldn't look at me. And then when she would glance at me, it wasn't my niece. I could tell in her facial structure that she, in fact, wasn't my niece. She just looked so different. And so as time went on, I had 5 people in that basement, including CJ, myself, Jamie, her husband, Stephen, and her son. They were all down there. And I asked Stephen to get the Bible. I said, we're in for a rough ride. And he said, "Oh, my God." So as Jamie was sitting there, I said, I started recanting the Lord's Prayer. I had true holy water. It came straight from the Vatican. I have a good friend here that his mother travels to the Vatican and gets holy water and brings it back. And I was fortunate to get some. And so I had that in hand. I had my cross and I was praying. We were saying so many prayers over Jamie. And there got to be a point where she actually bent backwards and contorted differently than I've ever seen anybody in my lifetime in a physical realm watched her contort the way she did. And so when that was going on, I was telling Stephen, get on the Lord's Prayer. We need to say St. Michael's Prayer. We all started praying for Jamie. And there was a point where she finally did whatever, and she was laying flat, but I knew it wasn't her. And I got on top of her, and it's recorded and witnessed by 5 people that she not only levitated off the couch by 2.5 inches with me sitting on her. And then as I was praying in her face and demanding this to get the hell out of my niece, that this wasn't going to take my niece, her head reared up and her tongue came out too far and her eyes rolled and also became very black, looking at me. And I said, "I demand you, whoever you are that has my niece, I want you to get out of my niece. You don't belong here. You are not welcome here." And it said its name, which was Leo. And the minute it recanted its name, it laughed, and we all stood there just with our minds completely blown. And I did, in fact, contact the Vatican here and the Catholic diocese, and they said what I had gone through with my niece was recorded before in Lincoln, Nebraska. It did happen here as well with someone else. So that's a scary story.
Possession is a crazy thing. I've only dealt with it twice, and I tend to avoid it after those 2 points. One of them, believe it or not, was with my own daughter because of a mistake that I made. It's a crazy story. I won't get into a lot of detail because I know this is about Cheryl, but there are certain things you do and you don't do, and I did not listen to those from the Catholic Church, even though I worked with them briefly. So I did some things, including using salt the improper way in a home, which I knew there were some things going on in. And my child was maybe 4 or 5 years old. She couldn't speak very much at the time. She definitely couldn't carry on full sentences. The moment I did it, this child walked straight out in a male voice and looked at me and said, "Remove the effing blocks now." And I said, "Do I know what you are?" And he said, "Yes, you do." I said, "Do you know who I am?" He said, "Yes, I do." I said, "Do you know who I work with?" He said, "Yes, I do." We carried on a full conversation that eventually was like, "Look, if I remove these blocks, you will leave my child now, correct?" "Yes, I will." So I removed the blocks and it left. But it's a scary thing when you see a 5-year-old child do this and then fall to the ground the moment that you do what you're supposed to do and remove the blocks. And of course, I contacted Catholic Church afterwards and explained things to them and so forth. But she literally dropped to the floor and then all of a sudden looked right at me as if nothing happened and said, "Dada."
Yeah. And
So
that's how Jamie was afterwards. After it all was over, I mean, the coloring in her face went back to normalcy. And she was laying there bawling and crying. And she was like, what happened, Aunt Cheryl? Why are you here? What happened? Blah, blah, blah. And, you know, we had to sit with her I ended up sitting with her for hours, making sure she was okay. And then, of course, I called a priest in and he came in and, you know, definitely blessed the home and blessed her and re-anointed her in faith with Christ. And
that's a terrifying thing when you experience it, especially the first few times. Once you realize your faith is stronger than any one of these things, it becomes a little easier. But it's a scary thing. It really is.
The question I have for you, Cheryl Ann, is, you know, has this reoccurred at all? Has she had any repercussions beyond that?
You know, here's the thing about it. I tell everybody when I do guest speaking in reference like this, do not be surprised that within a few weeks down the road, the moment you start feeling weak or, you know, start doing the bad behaviors you once did, or you just invite people into your home that you know are not the greatest of character, that's how we open the doors back up. And it wasn't too far down the road. Jamie had a friend come over that was a druggie, a friend that she was trying to get rid of out of her life, you know, just get out of my life. I don't need this in my life. And not that Jamie did it. It was just a friend that had a bad addiction. And Jamie is the type of person who loves to counsel. And she tried real hard with this person to get them off the drugs. And it was a couple of days after that person had actually exited the home, because she did stay for a couple of days because Jamie allowed her to, because she was on the street. And after Jamie left, and she called me and she said, "Aunt Cheryl, I think you need to come over and sage. We need to do prayers." I go, "Why? What's going on?" She told me what happened. And of course I went over and we did saging and we did prayers, and she felt like it was coming back over the course of that time when I wasn't with her. You know, when this person was there, she said, "I just felt really heavy." She said, "I felt depressed, and she said, "I felt suppressed." And she said, "I started feeling sickly, like I was when all that other stuff happened." And because I guess CJ told her that as she was going into the possession, you know, there's signs, obviously, you're going into possession. And CJ actually told her those signs. And CJ had no concept of what possession was. But she was able to recant back to me what Jamie was acting like before she went into full swing of possession.
Well, I'm glad to hear that she knew what was going on enough to keep it from happening again. And I don't think people are actually aware of the demons that addiction carries with it, and leaves everybody, not only the person that has the addiction, but the people around them that are susceptible to those demons.
Yes, they do certainly rub off onto other people that are vulnerable is the word. And unfortunately at that time, Jamie had a few friends that were vulnerable. And although CJ was a tough cookie, she was very deep in her faith, thank God.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. Can you tell everybody where they can find you and what you're working on currently?
Oh gosh, yeah. You can find me on Facebook, Cheryl Ann Elliott Fletcher. And you can also find me, just via telephone. Denise has my number. If you're interested in anything beyond the scope of this, you can get it from her. I'm currently working on a book about my life. It is a book in reference to living. The title is Living. First time you're going to hear it, Denise. Living Dead Raw. And what that clearly means is all of my life I've been living with dead. And that's what I'm writing about. It's about my life. And it's all about schizophrenia versus the afterlife, because I have evidence, medical evidence, that schizophrenia is nothing but a supersensitive. And so I have evidence to back that up, and I'm pretty sure Big Pharma isn't going to be too happy with me, but that's okay. I have a great, a really good will.
Cheryl, you should reach out to me. I'm doing a project where we're doing a whole podcast situation, and 3 of the episodes on the podcast that are going to be about an hour and 45 minutes long are all about psychic mediums and showing the abilities. And we're going to do that in a way where me and several of my team members that are doing the podcast are going to be at a location. We're going to pipe you in to see what you pick up and how you respond and what you can relay and so forth, and then gauge it for the audience to show them the abilities that are actually out there. I've got Laura Johnson doing one of them. I'd be more than glad to have you come on to do one of them.
I would love to. Thank you for that invitation. I love doing, doing that from a distance. It's always fun to do that. Remote viewing. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, reach out to me. And if you don't have my information, Carl or anybody here can provide it. They all know who I am.
That would be great. Maybe if you could just hop on to Facebook and give me a shout out, you guys
are already friends. You guys met on my show earlier in the year.
I would imagine I am. I know almost everybody. I just don't pay attention to it.
Yeah. Well,
I'm guilty. I'm guilty. Same here. That's why I'm going, no, you reach out to me, because I'm going to be looking for your name for like an hour.
Chris Houston is easy to find. He's friends with Frank Bennett. And you should be able to remember that you guys are all on my show, wreaking havoc on me and all kinds of other stuff back in January. So
I do.
The only thing you got to remember about me, Cheryl, is there's only 2 things with me. You either love me or you hate me.
Cheryl, I just sent you a friend request on Facebook, by the way.
Thank you very much. All right. Well, you guys have a wonderful rest of your night.
Thank
you. And I love you, Denise, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
Take care, Cheryl.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
And our next guest is in the green room now. His name is Big Jim Jones. And I'd like for you to meet this. This is Big Jim.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Great.
I like the cigar box guitar he had up earlier.
Yeah. They're doing. I built a lot of the cigar box guitars. Back in 2019, I was actually very fortunate. In York, Pennsylvania, we had the 2019 Pennsylvania Cigar Box Guitar Festival, which actually you can see over on YouTube. And we actually set the world record with playing with 264 others, playing Bad to the Bone on all cigar box guitars simultaneously with the mayor of York.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's one of my hobbies on the side. I got a small business going, winding down my career, 27-year career in Maryland law enforcement. So, yeah, it's better to. I'm glad I'm on this end of my career instead of at the beginning of it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna have to reach out to you, Big Jim. I've always wanted a cigar box guitar, and never knew where to get one. Now I do. I love this.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate, man. I've learned from some of the best. I was doing it on my own for a few years. I used to sneak into a local music shop into their dumpsters when they closed at the end of the night, and they used to throw a lot of the old Japanese makes like Taisco and Kawai guitars, the stuff that you would find in Montgomery Ward's or Sears, and they would get the parts off of them and they just throw the rest of the guitar away. Well, I'd go back there and scrounge everything up and always wanted to tinker around with them, and then so for the past I guess about 14 years I've been making a lot of them, and I actually sold one to Keith Age at the Upstate Spirit Conference down in Evansville, South Carolina 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I was actually supposed to. I was actually supposed to be down there. I live in South Carolina, so
That's what well, actually, after speaking with a gentleman down there, when I did some photography work before I left, and so that's pushed it to the top of the list. Maybe within the next year or two, I'll be a permanent resident down there.
Good for you, because getting out of Maryland will be the smartest thing you ever did.
Yep.
Absolutely. They don't tax your retirement. Yeah, so, like Maryland does.
Yeah, I grew up in Essex, Dundalk, family in Towson, aunt in Catonsville. Back a bunch of years ago, that aunt died during the bad heat wave in July in Catonsville there. So, and then I have a cousin who actually builds guitars for the Stars and stuff like that, and also builds electric banjos. And he used to work at a guitar building plant there in Maryland.
That would be Paul Reed Smith.
So, and my cousin's name is Dan Serber. So if you find him, you'll find my family. So, but, and he's also into the paranormal as well. So, and Rex here, up here, Rex wave.
He's
Rex
over there.
He's frozen again.
I'm frozen. Okay.
So there he is. He's not frozen now. That's Rex.
No,
He
that's
has
Rex. Over
Right.
that way. You point the wrong direction.
You
Point the
point
other
the
way.
wrong way.
Well,
Yeah.
this way.
For me, it looks like he's there. So whatever. So Rex he has a show on that's music. So you guys might want to talk a little bit if you want to talk music sometime.
Sure, absolutely.
So you were telling me that you had an experience at the USS Constellation, and a lot of us saw, when they had the Holzer files on. Shane had an experience at the USS Constellation.
Mm-hmm.
I've had one there, and probably not too long after you had yours, because I don't think we're that far apart in age. So, so I think we would have been about the same age when you had your experience. So, tell us about your experience at the USS Constellation. Oh, and for those who don't know, the USS Constellation is a big ship in the Baltimore Inner Harbor.
Right. I was very fortunate to be on that episode with Shane and Dave and Cindy. I didn't know that was going to be centered around my story about what happened back in 1974, but to be back down there, that was actually the first time I've been below the gun deck since 1974. I've been back aboard that ship on numerous occasions. Never, my team never even investigated that ship there. Being that close. Of course, now that's a whole nother story we can go into for another episode. But what happened back in 1974? I was in fourth grade, Catonsville Elementary School. We with two of the classes from Catonsville, we went down there for a field trip, and it was overcast kind of a day. And this is at the time when they've been doing a lot of work on getting the ship kind of seaworthy. And she, up until a few years ago, before they did the full restoration of her, she was literally breaking in the middle. And the Navy was talking about taking her out and sinking her as an artificial reef. That's how bad off she was. And if it wasn't for a group of donors being able to do the work on her, she would have been saved. But it was constantly being worked on over the years. And this is long before they even thought about having the harbor place put in down there. So this is just after when they tore a lot of the old warehouses down. And so we would go on the ship the first part, and then we would go over onto the Port Welcome, which would take us down towards around some of the industries in the Baltimore and Baltimore County region and down to Sparrows Point. So what happened on board at that time, we went there, they took us on a tour through the ship, and so they would show all these little places where they had the brig, which is all the way down and towards the keel of the ship. I mean, you're down below the waterline. And so we get back up, and of course, the port welcome, they had to go and they had to get a refuel. So it was going to be a while. So they wanted to keep all the kids together. So, okay, well, you can go explore and make sure you just don't go and interfere with anybody doing the restoration work. And they would signal off over there with the port welcome. They would toot the horn for everybody to meet back up at the Houseman's wheel. So me and two friends of mine, we tend to get in a little annex once in a while. So we kind of like separated from everybody else, and we started exploring the cabins and things like that there. They didn't have everything locked up, but you could open them just to see what was in there and things like that. So we worked our way all the way down into where the brig was. So I get down into the brig and on that deck there, and we kept hearing this hammering. Of course, I'm at my workbench right now in the guitar workshop, so I'm just going to do it this way, but I'll knock everything else over. And it was like, it wasn't like a real like hammering you would with nails and wood and that, but it didn't have an echo like it would be when they were actually working. So as we got close to where the brig was, the brig doors were closed, and what it looked like a hand that came out through where the bars would have been, and that you could see it. And it was kind of like translucent. It wasn't solid, but you could see it was there, and it was like it was reaching for something, and all of a sudden it kind of like beckoned. Well, we thought that somebody was playing around with us. You know, you tend to do that as kids anyway. And we got down close. We go in, kind of like looked around, nobody there. Absolutely nothing in that room. All of a sudden, your hair stands up on the back of your head, and all of a sudden, now it's like we look at one another and like, let's get what out of here. And we start to run, and we're booking towards the one set of steps going up to each level. And I remember running down there, and I'm a bit of a klutz because you see me now. I'm built like a Coke machine. I've got a size 16 foot. Trying to get these steps, and of course, it's open. There's no solid back to them. And I'm running down. The only thing you can hear is your heartbeat. Everything else is kind of a blur as you're trying to go up these stairs. And of course, I'm the last one, and I'm looking down, and it looked like a black smoky mass, like they come in like a wave, and kind of hit at the bottom of the staircase as we're going up. And this thing's coming up like the ship's sinking. So we get up there, and we get up on the main deck, and we go back, and we're kind of like looking at one of those, and it's like you don't see a GD word, because you're not supposed to. We weren't supposed to be down that one section anyway, but we did it anyway. Being kids, and that was the experience that I had on there. And we got on the port welcome. It was just like we all sat together. It was just like we didn't say a word until we got back to school, get ready to go home. It was just that stuck with me for all those years.
Hey, you were probably shocked, if I had to guess. You just went through that experience. You can't really. You're trying to process it in your head. To talk about it at that point would have been almost impossible.
Right. I mean, it was at a point when I was approached about the stories and all, and they wanted to know if I had experience on the Constellation. I'm like, oh yeah, I got one. And just like you had to I can actually go back to that moment, the smell that was on board. You could feel the way it was damp down there because, like I said, it was she had quite a bit of leaks on board her many years ago, and just the way that you could even hear the creaks. I mean, I remember every aspect of it, even including that pounding, the just everything that went along with it, and you relive that over again. I mean, it still gives you the creeps, in other words. I mean, you're back there as a 10-year-old again.
When I went, I had an experience in the same area that Shane was in.
Mm-hmm.
And it was with a 12 or 13-year-old boy that was in there at the same time as, he was a spirit boy. And of course, at this time, I already knew I could see spirits because I had been seeing them for a long time. And, being on a field trip, being a kid, you don't bring attention to yourself that your parents tell you is going to be negative. I was already teased and treated kind of crappily because of my dad being murdered. I didn't need any more attention. So, I basically had this experience where this boy's telling me to come here. He wanted to show me something. He needed help. And I kind of had to go, yeah, I got to go with them, And so it was an interesting experience, but, I've always loved the USS Constellation. It looked so majestic there in front of the World Trade Center and in the harbor. The smell, when you talk about the smell, the biggest smell I remember down there, not on the ship, but was when McCormick's was there.
Absolutely. Right there at Lake Street.
Yeah. And I lived
Conway.
right there. I lived in one of those houses that they sold for $1 back in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
I lived there when I was first born. Our rent was $25 a month. We had a view of the inner harbor from there, and we had our swimming pool on the roof. Needless to say, it was bad. It was hot, and it hurt like hell to walk across that roof.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it was a different time. And when I tell people, and even back then, in the 60s, we were having race riots down there. So it wasn't
Absolutely.
the greatest
1968. Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, lived it, and it was just part of everyday life. But I would like to thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. Could you tell everybody where they can find you?
Well, after many times I've been deplatformed on Facebook, I'm actually back on with 1G, Big Jim Jones. I also have my business on there. I have the old page is still up, but I have the new one up as Crossland Guitars USA on Facebook. Also, you can contact me through the Crossland Guitars email, which is crosslandguitars@proton.me. And I'm also on many other platforms like Winkin, Cloud Hub, Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I do a lot of my photography work there, which I have a lot of the photographs from Abbeville, South Carolina when I was down there with a lot of that. So I do a lot of work with cemetery restoration and preservation. So I'll be putting a lot of those photographs up. And also I have an old channel over on YouTube, which I'm trying to resurrect and do more of my cemetery work on there.
Awesome.
See, Brandon, you would have met him if I had gotten you to come to Joplin.
And that's okay, because I'm going to be, I'm sure that we're going to cross paths. But yeah, that was my plan, to go down there with another organization down there called Raven Paranormal. They were supposed to be down there, but yeah, I ended up coming up this way, which, hey, it worked out. But I'll catch you on the flip side.
Oh, and if not, you guys can come up there and check us out up there at the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash in August.
We plan on coming at some point in time. From here, from Kansas, it's a little bit of a drive.
Oh, been to Kansas a couple times. I totally understand.
So, look, somebody decided to show.
I'm here. Just behind you.
So, well, that's really cool.
Oh, by the way, Jim, Kat told me to tell you hello. She's down there in the green room hanging out. She told me to tell you hello.
Yeah, Kat Gash is down there. So I know.
Well, we've done some work together. Oh yeah, we got some stories on that one too. So
I bet.
And so do we. Me and Kat do too. So well, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and
thank you folks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care. Have a good one.
You too.
And our next guest looks like Michael Roberts. Is Susan going to come on with you, Mike? Bring Mike on up.
There's
So-
Mike.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, doing great.
Good.
So is Susan going to come on with you?
No, I think she's just going to sit back and watch tonight.
Okay, well then we'll make faces at her.
There you go.
He was doing what I was doing. Well, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. No,
So-
I've been in the paranormal field for about 18 years. Actually, both of us have. We've been doing a lot of private investigations, and that's kind of where this actual thing happened. We decided after doing a couple of years of doing all the normal stuff that everybody else did and going to the normal haunted places that we actually kind of had a knack for picking up some of the different things that were happening. So we wanted to take it further than that and start doing actual private investigations and actually helping people out. So we got together with a team here in our hometown and did, for a few years, we were doing several different locations around the area. And this actually was the last one that this team did together. We were called out to a house south of our town to go investigate because this lady was having several experiences and began to think that it was actually turning the wrong way, to say the best way to say it. So we had a team of 6 of us that went out to this house and started investigating. Nothing abnormal to start with. We kept hearing some different things and was looking at different, seeing some different things happen. But we couldn't tell exactly what was going on, though. And then all at once, one of the investigators basically just started almost gagging and getting sick and had to go outside. And at that point, I followed her outside with the rest of the team kind of following behind us and trying to make sure that she was okay. And the next thing I know, she kind of started lashing out at one of the other investigators. And I actually had to basically grab her and restrain her. And we really wasn't for sure what was going on at that point. And it kind of escalated from there to where I had to actually use all of my might just to hold her in place. And so we all started saying prayers, trying to talk to her. The unusual thing that really got to us, I guess, at that point, or really what made it more scary to all of us, is she actually started basically talking in tongues and saying different things and lashing out to anything that was said to her. She was literally lashing out at it and just jumping back. And we all just kept praying as hard as we could. And it was unbelievable, the strength that she actually had. It was a lot more than her normal self would have.
Was it tongue she was talking in, or was it languages that you just simply couldn't decipher? Was it?
I think it was more what I couldn't decipher. It kind of had a tone of Latin.
Okay.
But I didn't recognize any of the words. And then basically all at once, for the most part, whatever had her left, just completely left. And she just basically went limp. And once she kind of came to, is the best way I could say it. She didn't realize anything that had happened at all. Didn't know anything at all of what had happened. But that's probably not even the worst part per se of this. So we went ahead and blessed the house and wrapped up the investigation. But then when we put all the information together and two of the investigators were trying to go through it, those noises and stuff that we were hearing were actually full on growls. They were very, very vicious, very much towards whatever investigator was in that area. You could hear 'em on the film, on the mics. And that whole incident with her was actually filmed also. And it was that experience that you just don't expect to have
Right.
when you were going into something like that. But then when we tried to do the review, two of the investigators that were doing the review that was hearing all these growls and all the other words that were being said, it was actually made them physically ill from listening to that. And so it just really made for a very unique experience, for one, but something that just shows us that our faith, like you said earlier, Chris, the faith, it shows you how strong your faith has to be, and it actually lets you know that that faith is that strong.
And those were multiple voices and multiple growls that you were hearing. They weren't independently one voice or one growl, were they?
No, they were multiple ones, and different tones, and even sounded. Some of them you couldn't even decipher whether it was male, female. There was even a couple of them that I was told that even sounded like it was a kid growling.
As they say, we are legion.
Yes.
There's a couple of things that people have brought up, and I won't get into a lot of detail today, that most people don't understand. The demonic possession and possession is very, very rare if anybody's watching this, and it very rarely happens. There are key elements that happen in every situation, which is why I was asking him those questions. And you only know that if you've actually worked with real people that have worked with real exorcisms and real possession and experienced it yourself. The first thing is the steps that occur before possession, the steps of oppression, and some of the other signifying events like multiple voices at once that come from different avenues in different areas that can indicate with the languages and so forth that something else is going on.
Yes.
Sorry, Ruby's got a game on behind us, and it sounds like
So what was going on with the people that lived there?
They thought they were talking to a little girl. And that is actually the worst part of this whole thing. Is it probably wasn't even, I don't even think it was 2 weeks after that investigation, they turned around and invited it right back into the house.
Oh, wow.
Because she missed the little girl and wanted to talk to her again.
Great.
Oh, Lord.
Well, that's also why you get so many warnings that people don't understand and over-exaggerate from the Catholic Church and other churches. Even by your people listening to those voices in a small way, that's inviting them in. That's why they were getting sick when they were listening to the voices and so forth. If they continued to concentrate on that and instead of leave the evidence in their own way by trying to decipher what's going on and playing it over and over and over again, they're inviting that into their life.
Okay.
That's why they caution so much, because it's not just as simple as your other lady that invited the girl back in because she wanted to talk to the girl. She believed the girl was there. It's very easy for human instinct when you encounter these things for these things to be curious. And the more curious you are, if you don't watch what you're doing, you open those doors and they'll come right at you. It's not just one. As Denise has said, it's a legion, multiple different, whatever you want to call them, entities, creatures, whatever you want to call them. And they will dive into your life. And the experience is very disturbing is what I will say, especially if your faith is not ready for it.
Yeah, that was what actually surprised me. It actually showed me how strong our faith was that night, and that you have to be that way because you never know what you're going to come across.
Yep.
And one of the things I did want to add to that too, we have never ever been able to finish the evaluation of that at all. We've just given up on actually reviewing the evidence because of the things that have happened and everything else. So,
well, if you're ever curious, Michael, I could probably decipher some of those languages and words for you because of the people that I work with and the research that I've done in the past. So I'd be glad to listen to them because my faith is pretty strong. And if I think it's going to scare the crap out of me, I'll just come back to you and say, hey, look, I'm done with this, Michael. But if you're ever curious, I may be able to decipher some of what's going on there. If they start giving certain particular words and names, though, I will not share those with you because I won't speak them back or even tell you what they are.
Okay.
Well, the thing is Mike, you might want to listen to my show or our show next Tuesday night when we have Farrah Rose on.
Yes.
So we'll have to talk to her to find out when she's wanting to come back to Springfield so we can all have dinner together again.
That's true. Very true.
So
And also in November, I'm going to have Jeremy Leonard, the Cajun demonologist, on my show. So maybe you might want to, if you have any questions for him.
yeah, check
He's
it out.
a fun guy. He'll be able to answer a lot of questions for you.
Yeah, that definitely will be a good one.
Yeah, and you might remember Mike Norton.
Yes.
I've got him coming on Halloween. So,
Okay. I'll be
hasn't
a
done
little
a
busy
show.
that night, but okay.
Well, you can always watch the
You doing a
replay.
show on Halloween?
Yeah, I'm doing a show on Halloween. I don't have anybody to take trick or treating.
You don't?
No, because I'll be done before 7.
Okay.
Well, that just means I got to put a costume on, and then you got to take me trick or treating.
I was going to say the same
We're
thing.
going to show up in
Trick
Kansas.
or treat.
I go everywhere anyway.
Well, that's our anniversary, so we'll definitely be celebrating that night with
Oh,
the
really?
trick-or-treaters. So.
Yes, go do that. Listen and replay. And I'd like where can everybody find you guys if you want them to find you? If not, you can just tell
We're
them where
both
to
on Facebook, and anytime they have questions or, we're both on there. The other thing I didn't add, we're both storm chasers also.
Sweet.
So you're going to see a lot more of that. Both of us are going to be retired at the end of this year, so
I'm
you're
going
going
to
to
get
see a
you
lot
on
more
my.
storm chasing and investigating going
I'm
on.
going to get you on my show sometime, and we'll talk storm chasing. I did it for 3 years. Totally love it.
Yes.
Once you get into it, it's almost like the average person can't. But when you know what to look for, you can smell the tornado coming.
Yes,
Hey,
definitely.
Mike, do you do winter storm chasing?
We might once we retire go down and chase some of those hurricanes. Get in the warmer weather.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and you guys also chase the spook lights as well.
Yes, we've been watching those for, let's see, I guess that'd be almost 16 years now.
It's going to get harder with all those new houses going
It
in.
is. Well, we went that weekend to the Paracon, and it was not near what you saw before. We only got to see it for about 15 minutes, and that was it. So,
That's
we've sat out there. We literally sat out there one night for 4 hours, and the light never went out. Never went out.
That's cool.
So,
well, thank you so much for
no
coming.
problem. Appreciate y'all letting me come on.
Well,
Thanks,
thank
bud.
you. And keep listening. We've got one more story, and then our hosts are going to share some stories. And
Okay.
that'll be it. And join us next week when we get to hear some other people as well. So
Right.
our next guest, unless we need a break, does anybody need a break? Nope. Okay. Then our
Nope.
next guest is Kat
In
Gash.
the clear.
Hello, Kat. You've been waiting patiently.
Yes, she has.
So,
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
well, hopefully the cats will let you talk. We're not
I
hearing
think
you,
a
Kat.
few times people have seen a tail or so going across the screen. Oh, you're not hearing me?
No, we
Oh,
Yeah,
hear
we're
you now.
hearing you now. There's a delay.
Okay, sorry about that.
You're all right now.
Can you hear?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay,
Yep.
fine. All right. Yeah, a few of my cats have walked past here while I was waiting, and you could see their tails, just going across the screen. But yeah, my name is Kat Gash, and I am a medium. I've been experiencing the paranormal since I was a child. And like some of the others have mentioned, including you, Denise, that when you're a child, you experience a great deal. Adults often don't really accept that you might be seeing something paranormal.
I think she froze up on us.
And she froze up.
Yep.
Or there's a possibility. Am I there?
there you
Now
go.
you are.
Yeah, you're right.
Just a key thing, everybody. Anytime we have on people from Maryland, this happens.
I'm not surprised. I'm really not surprised. Maryland is a strange state sometimes, so who knows what our spooks are inside the, the ghost in the machine. Who knows? Well, my experiences over the years have been both with the paranormal, but to let everyone know that I also have grown up around dealing with a number of animals, both domestic, farm, and game. I've hunted, and I grew up with family that owned farms. So I'm very much used to knowing what animals sound like, what they look like, and what they make you feel like when they make noises and come up against you and everything. So, what I'm about to talk about is something that really unnerved me. In all of my encounters with the paranormal and with most animals, I've never really been frightened, just unnerved. But this one really shook me. And even as I was thinking about telling it tonight, it's actually making me shudder.
Mhm.
I had made a trip to Scotland with a family friend, and we'd gone there for 2 weeks. We rented a car and booked bed and breakfasts along the way. And we were on our very last night, and we were going to be leaving out of Edinburgh the following day. And we booked a room into a bed and breakfast in a very rural area outside the main city. And the building was located in an area where there was nothing but fields and a cow pasture. And there was barbed wire fence, electrified barbed wire fence that separated the cow pasture from the person's property. And we could see the cattle as we came up. And it was just getting ready to get dark by the time we arrived. And the cattle started walking off, I guess headed home. And there was no trees, no bushes or anything in this field, just a few large rocks that were kind of jutting out of the ground. Well, we had our supper and we went into our rooms, which were on the second floor, and the rooms overlooked the parking area as well as that cow pasture. And before we decided to go to bed, we just ended up playing a game of cribbage, just to pass the time. While we were playing, suddenly we heard what I would consider to be the caterwauling of a cat getting ready to get into a fight.
Yeah.
And anybody who has owned cats that has been around a cat fight knows exactly what I'm talking about. It's a really nasty sound. It starts low growling and it builds up in tone, it builds up in volume. And the next thing you know, it's into a really nasty scream, and all you can hear is the row row, and you know that the fur is flying. Well, hearing this coming from the window, I couldn't stand the thought of a couple of cats getting into a fight. So my first reaction was to go downstairs and go out and try to get them to break it up. And my friend followed me down. And after we walked outside, there was a motion detector light on the building, and it immediately came on after we walked out. And it was so bright that we could see the entire parking area as well as the majority of the cow pasture just beyond it. And there were definitely no cattle at all, nothing at all in that field. And we could still hear this low growling and, the semi high pitch. And yet I couldn't see anything. And after the light went out, I had to wait for a few minutes for my eyes to adjust to the light. There was just enough moonlight that I could see what was going on. I could see everything, just enough. But wherever this sound was coming from, I couldn't see anything. I could see no movement. I couldn't see any dark shadows against, the grass or anything, but yet I could still hear it, and it was getting louder. It was getting closer. So I picked up some rocks from the parking lot, and I started throwing them in the direction that I figured these cats or cat was getting ready to start the fight, thinking I could scare them off. And I started yelling at him, "Go, get out of here, leave." And yet nothing happened. Well, the light went back on for a moment because my friend stepped out and the caterwauling stopped. A few moments later, the light went out because we had both walked beyond the motion area, and the caterwauling started again. But this time it started getting very, very weird. Instead of being that high pitch like a normal domestic cat would have, this started making a low guttural sound, and it started growling, not the normal cat sound. And it was getting closer and closer. And I couldn't see a thing. There was nothing there. Nothing to account for the sound that I heard at all. And all my hair stood up, and my friend was calling for me to get back into to leave with them to go back in. And then suddenly it stopped, and I thought, okay, well, fine. Maybe I scared it off, decided to leave, whatever. But the moment I started to walk away, it started up again, and it got even louder. And it was even lower in tone and pitch. This was not a domestic cat, but it was not a dog. It wasn't anything that I'd ever heard before in my life. And I just stood there frozen. I couldn't move because it scared me so badly because I did not recognize that sound at all. And I couldn't see anything. And that's what made it worse. I couldn't see anything at all in front of me. And this thing was no more than 20 feet away from me on the other side of that 4-foot high barbed wire fence. But there was nothing there. So I thought, well, maybe it's some sort of a Scottish wildcat, which I had never heard before. And I figured, well, knowing cats, if you run, they will chase you. They like movement. So I started to walk backward. And then this sound started up again with the high-pitched guttural sound making its way down again to a low guttural. And I just stopped. I froze, thinking, oh no, whatever it is going to jump that fence and come after me. And I don't want to deal with that. Then all of a sudden, I looked over to my right, and this form took shape in the field. And it was probably about 4 to 5 feet long and about 3.5 feet high. And at first I thought, well, there's a cow in that field, but what in the heck is a cow, which were all black and white? What was a cow doing there? But I noticed that I could actually see through it. I saw no discernible head, no legs, no tail, no nothing. And it was just this black form. And it suddenly moved from right or left to right and went behind this 3-foot high cinder block wall that the owners had apparently put there between their children's play area and this barbed wire fence. And it went behind it, and I could just barely see the back of it just rising above. And it moved very slowly behind that wall Then suddenly it shot off toward the access road, and the barbed wire fence had gone all the way around that access road. And yet when it got to that road, to that corner of that fence, it disappeared. It didn't jump the fence because I would have seen it, I would have heard it. It was too big to fit in between the distance between that fence, each rung. Yet it just disappeared altogether, and there was no sound of movement, nothing. And I found my feet, and I think I hit that door of the bed and breakfast in about 3 steps. I was so scared. And realized that my friend wasn't there anymore. So when I got upstairs to my room, here's my friend standing in their room looking out the window, and I'm like, "Oh, thank you very much. You just left me outside to whatever it was that was outside." And they admitted to me that they kept hearing it and saw nothing either. But when I was still outside, they too saw this black mass suddenly form in the field and move. And the two of us barely got any sleep. We just kind of stayed up talking about what we'd seen and everything. The next morning, as we were putting our bags in the car, another guest was there with his family, and he came over to us and he said, "Excuse me," he says, "but did you hear something very strange last night?" And we said, "Well, yeah." I said it was, a cat fight. I didn't know how else to describe it. I said it was a cat fight. And he looked at me kind of strange and said, "That was no cat fight. I don't know what that was, but that was no cat fight." And he says, and our 2 kids ended up in the bed with us for the rest of the night. They could not get to sleep. And they left, and my friend and I went back inside to say our thank yous and whatnot to our host. And my friend walked out, and the host came over to me and said, "I hope that the disturbance last night would not prevent you from either coming back with us again or recommending us to someone." And I thought to myself, that was an odd thing to say.
Yeah.
That what disturbance was she talking about? Because if it had just been like a barn cat or something that was getting into it, that was no big deal. If it had been a Scottish wildcat, why was that a big deal? But evidently, this person knew that there was something more to what was out there, because she was concerned that something was going to get spoken of. They were going to get a bad review, something like that. So after we got back home, I got on the internet and I started looking up various different cats that were in Scotland and saw the Scottish wildcat and everything, but it was nowhere near that area. But then I started looking up myths and legends and saw that there was one called the cat she. It's spelled S-I-T-H, but it's pronounced she, which is pretty much what you would refer to as a fairy folk. And this cat she is known to be described as a very large black cat with sometimes a malevolent behavior, but oftentimes it's just around to show you perhaps you might have some bad luck or something like that. And it was never known to harm anyone, but it did have a bad reputation for bringing, bad luck or whatever along with it. And I thought to myself, You know, for everything that I've ever seen in my entire life and all the animals that I've encountered, nothing like that ever frightened me as much as this thing did. And to this day, whenever I recount that story, it still gives me shudders. I know it was not a live cat. I know it was something supernatural or paranormal or whatever. And because of my abilities, I just happened to be in the right place at the right time when it showed up.
Yeah.
So, being a cat person, I guess it would show itself to me.
Isn't that one of the stories that you put in your book?
No, the one story that I did put in my book was the one where the little domestic house cat, calico cat, followed my sister and I around in Ireland.
That's what I thought. I
Yeah.
thought it was Ireland, not Scotland. But it's
Yeah.
like, how long ago has that been since I read that book? Probably my first year doing shows.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's been what, 2014, 2015 when I
Yeah.
wrote my first book.
So that would have been 7.5 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
You should have put that in your book. You just mentioned a legend that most people don't know about. I mean, that's a rare fate to run across in general.
Right.
When you study legends, so you put it in your next book.
I'm in the process of putting one together. I've now switched publishers, and I'm hoping that I'll have enough stories and everything to come out with a second one.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yep.
I
Gonna
have
give
an
it a try.
opinion. I have an opinion. I'm not going to share live.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh no.
Well, I think that's an amazing story just because, you can spend a lot of time like I do behind books and researching the Fae and the mythological and all this other stuff. But there's so many stories out there and people don't share some of those smaller stories like the one that you just shared to say, hey, look, maybe some of these things really are real.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean,
Well, it seemed really real because the other people heard it too.
Oh yes. Oh yes. We weren't the only ones that heard it. And my friend, when they saw it, to this day, whenever we talk to other people about our trip to Scotland, they have to include that very last night that we were there with whatever it was that just showed up in that field.
It wouldn't surprise me if the owners there didn't know about it. The Scottish and Irish are very, very, they believe in the Fae almost 100% in their legends. They don't,
Oh yes.
they
Oh
don't
yes.
deny them at all.
No. And
Yeah,
the
they
way
do.
the way she spoke to me
Yeah.
and how she spoke to me, oh yes, she knew that something was going on that night and she was concerned.
Well, I knew I could count on you for something to raise the hair on the back of our necks and also make us think a little bit about
Okay.
what's going on out there. Do
All
you
right.
think that any of these Fae came with the Scottish and the Irish to the Appalachians when they came there?
Oh, most
I
certainly.
know what you think, Brandon.
Oh yeah, well. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So have you heard any stories of this type of creature in the Appalachians down or near you at all?
Are you speaking
Randy,
to
She's
that gentleman?
she's not
You
talking
can.
to me.
Oh no. Oh, I'm sorry.
Brandon.
Yeah, to Brandon.
Oh, we're talking to me.
Yeah.
We can talk to all of you.
I mean, okay,
Anything
you
like
know,
this
You
in your
talking to
area?
me?
You know,
talking
the
to me?
irony, if you actually do the research, is most of the Fae legends aren't just in particular areas. In fact, it's highly believed through a lot of the mythological community and a lot of the communities that study it that a good percentage of these are not just oriented in one country. They can go multiple places.
See, my guess is that they would have went with the
But,
Irish,
well,
with the
we had-
Scottish to their areas where they landed.
well, and we have multiple stories of fairies and the Fae and whatnot that came across with the Irish that settled up. So it's all over the Appalachian Mountains.
Yeah. My family, both sides of my family, came from West Virginia, and there's definite Scots Irish on one side of the family and just Irish on the other side of the family. And there were so many different stories that my great aunts and uncles would talk about, being out on their farms and everything. And some of the things that they encountered, they firmly believed in all the various different tales that their own parents and their own grandparents told them, that were brought over from the old country and everything. And they placed a great deal of stock in some of these legends. And, the legend of the boogeyman that most of us grew up with, that the parents would always use to punish you with if you got out of line, the
Right.
boogeyman's going to get you, sort of thing. Most all of my relatives believed firmly that there was something that could quite possibly get a hold of you if you decided that you were going to be a bad person. So we really just take it for granted that we consider it just a bad seed or a bad element that causes people to be bad. You have to wonder what it is. We now know that medical things cause, say, our brains are what causes a lot of mental things, but you can't just dismiss all these myths and legends. You just can't. There's far too many of them. They go back way too far.
Especially when some of the key elements still exist.
Yeah.
And everything from disappearances, ironically, when you mentioned the boogeyman, the Gusieth, the Bonfair, there's a bunch of different legends that have the boogeyman. But sometimes when you start doing your research in the stories, just like your cat creature, you start realizing that some of this stuff is similar, and it's almost too ironic that it's precise.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the sightings, they might vary, here and there. And I'd like to think that I'm a credible person to have been able to witness it and to talk about it. I still have people that look at me like I've got two heads, but that's okay. That's the normal for me. But that's the only real time that I've ever been genuinely frightened at any of my experiences. I mean, I'm more frightened of live people than I am of spirits. That's the honest
Yeah.
truth.
I can see that, especially knowing the area in which you live. A lot of those people are scary. And the stories that you've shared that are not paranormal with me that make me go, yeah, I can see why you'd be somewhat distrustful of people.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, where I used to live, before my husband and I moved to the area where I live now, you could hand me $1 million and ask me to move back there, and I'd say, "Are you out of your blank mind?" Oh no,
Yeah.
not happening. Yeah, I'm definitely more of. We've got a location here in our town that has a reputation for housing a great number of questionable people at a very small rate for each night, and yet the place is seriously haunted by ghosts because it's been there, I think, since like 1910. But I'll tell you, there was absolutely nothing in that building that I was afraid of, except for the live people wandering the halls.
Sometimes those alive are a lot scarier than anything you run into dead.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So, Kat, where can everybody find you?
Well, if anybody wants to try and reach me, I'm under Kat Snyder Gash, SNIDER Gash. I still have a few of my original books, My Life Amidst the Paranormal, left if people want them. They will soon be back in print under my new publisher, and along with my new book, which I'm hoping to have out by the first of the year.
Well, I can't wait to see your new book because I know I really enjoyed your last book. And for those of you in the Kansas City area, her first book was illustrated by Adam Tillery.
Yes.
Cool.
The same guy who illustrated my story as well.
Right.
So,
Yes.
and so that's how I found Kat, actually.
Mm-hmm. That meeting up in Gettysburg.
Yeah.
Well, that was so. See, been there, guys. We had a haunted hotel room.
Yep.
and she was getting touched by somebody who got feely, and it wasn't Ron.
Mhm.
So
Good times. Good times.
So, she's like me. If we get in the area, I know that she's going to come and see us. So just like us, if you're in the area and we got a chance to see you, I will find a way to see you one way or another. So,
Right.
So
No, certainly. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. And we did fill up
Yeah.
an hour and a
Oh,
half, guys.
Okay. Well, thank
Yeah,
you
we did.
again for having me, everybody. Appreciate
you,
it.
Pat.
I'll
Thank you
tune
so
in to
much.
all of you guys' shows at one point or another. I will
Okay.
definitely do that.
Thank you.
Y'all take care.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
So
Wow, that went quick.
So if you
Yeah, I
guys
was
really
gonna say.
liked this format, next week we currently have Rhodey Speak coming on from down in Houston. We have Scott Johnston from up in Iowa, and Wendy Schindler from here in the Kansas City area are going to share some stories. If you guys have anybody that you'd like to come on and share a story, get in touch with me and I'll get you scheduled. We still have a
Right.
couple openings.
Anybody in the chat room that's got a paranormal story, if you'd like to, get a hold of us. Get a hold of Denise or get a hold of me over on the Bill of Rights Network, and I'll get it to Denise.
Yeah, this whole show is for you guys. I mean,
Yeah,
we
it's
want,
for
we want to hear
everybody
your stories.
in
Yeah.
the chat room.
Yeah, if you got a story,
It's their time.
Be
Like-
interesting to get a couple of people to do some UFO
How
stories.
do you get a hold of Denise?
I don't know. How do you get a hold of me? No,
Yeah, how do you get a hold of her, Ron?
Hey,
I don't.
never here. No, I'm
I
always
got
here.
a story.
You got a
Thanks, Chad. Thank you, Chad Carter. Great.
This was a
consideration.
completely different story, you know. Most of us knew the guests, some of us didn't know some of them and everything, but listening to their stories is a whole different perspective on the paranormal.
They
Oh,
brought
yeah.
up some very valid points too.
Yeah,
I mean,
different ones too.
yeah, especially when you were talking about the demons and the relations there with the possession and demonology, and then we got some cryptid information in there. So that's some myth and some cryptid
Yeah,
information.
I
That's
mean,
cool.
there's people out there, yeah, they're paranormal people, but we've got people in the chat room. Like I said, if you want to come on here and tell us stories, because a lot of people have stories that they've never told anybody.
Mm-hmm.
They're afraid to tell somebody, thinking they're nuts, you know, and crazy and all that. Here, we listen to your stories.
And guys, I'd love to hear you do some UFO stories if you come in, because next year I am doing my last set of a project, and it's all going to be concentrating on UFOs because I'm here in Ohio. So, in fact, you're going to hear a story from me from UFO when I was 16 years old. So that's going to be kind of an interesting thing.
Wow. That's
Well,
great.
Like I said, I'm more than willing. I mean, if anybody wants to come on and share any story, even paranormal or not, if it scared the living crap out of you, we want to hear about it.
Right.
Yeah.
This is Halloween season, and these shows are for you. Yeah, we all love getting together and visiting. We love to visit with each other. We're a great group of people, even if I do say so myself. But we would love to have you, the listener, come on and share your story with us. You don't have to be on video. And if you want to
Right.
do it and not be live at the time and do it, want us to tape it, we can tape it and play it for you. So
Right.
you can watch it.
You
And
can
April-
even come on here and block your camera,
Mhm.
and we still hear you, just like this. You can still hear me on the show, but you can't see me. We can do that for you if you don't want your face shown live on here.
And just don't put your real name in there. If you
Right.
want your real
Put
name-
any name in there when you
April?
sign into it.
Zach Baggins.
April, if you want to come on next Tuesday, let me know. We have spaces open.
Yeah,
at
April.
9 and 9:15. If you want to come on, just nepotism works here.
I shouldn't laugh about that. You know, guys, one of these days I am going to get Zach on one of my shows.
That's fine. That'd be
Well,
great.
We'll see how fine it goes once he's on there with me. But-
Well, if you've heard any of my shows when I talk about him, he was very nice.
He actually is a nice guy.
Yeah,
He's
he
a
is.
very brilliant guy in business. I know everybody gives him a lot of crap, and I've only had the
Everybody
pleasure.
Yeah.
I've only had the pleasure of meeting him twice and talking to him on the phone a handful of times. But every time I talk to him, other than our little business dispute we had a long time ago that we resolved, he's always been a good guy.
Yeah, people don't realize that
he'll find a demon.
He is the Gene Simmons of the paranormal.
Yeah.
He is our best marketing tool, regardless of good or bad. He is a marketing tool, depending on how you look at it, for the paranormal. And
he knows how to market it, and he knows how to get the ratings.
Well, that's what everybody has to realize. He's branded something from the beginning. He's marketed it very well. He's very brilliant at it. He does it really good. And he understands that too, but he still also believes in the paranormal. If you actually
and he's also opened up some of the smaller paranormal venues, that rely on people coming in and paying to whatever to keep the doors open. So I'll give him credit,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
I personally think, though, everybody on TV, you should give them credit. It's not an easy job. They spend a lot of time out there. They do a lot of hard work. A lot of the decisions that are made aren't under their control, but they do the best they can.
Right.
And they try to keep it as real as possible. So even though people give a lot of slack to them, you know what? It takes a lot of work. I've seen how these guys work. I've met some of them very personally. I've seen them way before they got on TV a couple of times, a handful of them, and they're all good people. Giving them slack is just not the right thing to do. They work hard at what they do, and they try to enjoy it in the process.
They made their way and made a deal to get on TV. Hard work like that. Once they get on there and they don't have much control over it.
And trust me, guys, it is a lot of hard work to get on TV. You get lucky. That's all it is you get lucky. You work your butt off doing what you enjoy to do, and hopefully one day you get recognized for it, and bam, there you go. You're on TV, and good for you. I support everybody there's a dozen people I've been at conferences in, and then they get their TV shows, and I watch them every single time to support them.
Speaking of support for our friends, many of our friends on Netflix starting tonight at midnight.
Oh, yes.
28 Days Haunted.
Yeah.
So check that out. And I know that we are friends between all of us, we are friends with everybody on that show.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if I want to hear a review from you guys next week. So at the end of the show next week, we're going to have a review of 28 Days Haunted for those of us that can see it.
Okay.
I'm down. And I want to plug real quick. Next month, I will have
and Rex, you're going to have Aaron
on my show.
On your show before long, aren't you?
Yes, on my first show.
Yep. Yeah, on his first paranormal show in November.
Yep.
Oh, well, see,
November
that's
3rd.
the thing. You have to get with me so I can put all the names in the calendar so that we don't.
So we don't have the same guests in the same month.
So Aaron's in trouble.
Nick
Aaron's
too.
in trouble. Just telling you, he's in trouble.
Okay. We visited with him a lot.
No, he
at
was
the Paracon.
No, not that. He told me he'd be on my show first, and he lied, that little booger. No, I don't care. you know that.
I talked with him a lot down there.
I made him blush.
But no, this show tonight. Did you watch how many people were watching at one time?
Yes.
Yep.
I did.
Yep.
So
one of the highest rated live view shows we've had on the network for quite a while. So this was up almost to 20 watching it live.
Well, you're welcome. You're welcome, Carl.
It's all Brandon, man.
No way, dude. Not me.
Well, Brandon held the record for 2 weeks on his show. But guess what?
Well, I called it on my last show that I'm going to be stepping down. There's going to be a new #1 show, and here it is.
Yeah, well, we thought it was going to be the Paranormal Pride, but no, it wasn't.
Well, that's what I said.
It still has me involved, but
it wasn't even a paranormal show.
Well, I'll be doing a big ad campaign.
It was Born TV After 9.
Oh,
I'll be doing a massive ad campaign for No BS, and anybody else who wants to get involved, including your network, Carl, in total here at the beginning of next year. So, if any of you want to be a part of that, we can start putting together some commercials for you. But it's going to be blasted all over social media because it's what I do in the day job. So
Right.
Well,
Well,
you know
we've been-
what?
Commercials.
This kind of stuff we need to be talking about outside the show.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, let's close it out and then we'll
So
discuss
here we have a
business.
staff meeting, everyone. I hope you're
Well,
enjoying it.
It's also like Jeremy over there listening and all the others over there. If you have a business or selling products or anything, contact us, make us a commercial.
Yep.
We love showing stuff because we love taking breaks in the middle of this stuff.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
sometimes we need to go get a drink, whether it's water or bourbon or
Right.
whatever. We need a
But
drink.
Jeremy, you can get with them over there and make us a short video about things network.
And Chad Carter, thank you for that shout out, buddy. Brandon is the man. 2 exclamation marks.
Well, that's good because Denise is the
Two.
woman.
That's
well,
right.
I gotta get all you when we start running total BS on YouTube and throughout the broadcast situations. I got to get with all of you guys, and hopefully we'll be able to come up to you and have you come up to us because we're gonna have some fun times there. We've got some stuff that we're testing just for the heck of it to prove different theories, and we're gonna be joking around. And I like to use this term, so excuse me if I say it on the net. You can bleep me out if you want to, Carl. But we're gonna be blowing some shit up.
Hey,
Hey, we're after 9 o'clock.
I was EOD in the Marine Corps, so I can help you blow some stuff up.
Sweet.
And guess what? That was my job when I worked at Sprint, was to blow stuff up in the they called it a pizza oven. I used to blow up cell phones.
Oh, sweet. That's
Well, I've got
awesome.
some pretty exciting guest stars that are going to be with me. I can't announce them quite yet, but we've got definitely some bit stars from The Walking Dead, Supernatural, Big Sky that just came out. There's a couple of bit actors from Big Sky that are going to be joining us. So I've got some not major actors, but people that have been in one or more episodes that are going to be showing up, regular faces to help us do this stuff. So it's going to be fun.
Good. So I'd like to ask everybody to come back next Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central. And I'd love to have Tony Spira on. I would love to, since I have a bracelet that his wife made from somebody in the chat room.
Right.
So I would love to have him on. So just have him contact me, and I'd love to do that. But everybody, you're listening to Haunted Vortex. We are going to be back here next Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central. If
Right.
you have any stories you want to share, please reach out. Let us know. Comment in the chat. Something. Just throw up a smoke signal. We'll find you. We'll get you on, and we'll get your stories out there. Otherwise, we're all going to... Carl, tell everybody where they can find you.
Well, they can find us over on the Bill of Rights Network on Facebook and the Bill of Rights Network on YouTube over there. And several other, we've got Facebooks for every show on our network. But go to the Bill of Rights Network, pin post at the top lists all our shows and the times they're on. So check us all out over there. Everybody you see on this screen right here has a show, co-hosting shows, and everything on this network. Plus, we have a lot of other hosts that aren't even on this show right now. And we go out all over the place, all over the world.
So
Denise, where can they watch your stuff? When can they watch you?
they can watch me almost every day. No.
Pretty much.
You can watch me on Mondays at 7 p.m. Central, right here on the Bill of Rights Network and the Paranormal Pride pages, whether it's YouTube or Facebook. And as long as it's not a holiday, I'll be on.
That's the only
And,
day you're not on is Sundays. It's because they got
Brandon's
shows all day on Sundays.
So just join us there and join me with Carl on Tuesdays. Next Monday, my guest is June Lundgren, Demon Seer.
Ooh, that'll be a good one.
And our guest on Tuesday is going to be Farrah Rose, demonologist. And so it's going to be a great show. Yeah.
Right. Rex, where can they find you at?
Oh, right here on the Bill of Rights Network. My show that I do with my son is on Saturday nights live from 7 to 9, and it's called Music, Movies, and Maybe More. And in 2.5 weeks, I'm plugging my new show here.
Please.
Go ahead.
We'll be on Thursday nights. I believe from like 6 to 7:30 or so. We're shooting at. It is called Discover the Paranormal with All Out Paranormal. I have some big things coming up. I can't wait to share them with everybody, and I'm so looking forward to it. And I just, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, all that fun stuff. Sorry.
That's okay, buddy.
But yeah, love being here. Love all the people.
Right. And Chris, where can they tell us about yours?
Well, you can find me on the Bill of Rights Network every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time with Joel Myers and several other guests. It's called No BS. I do a little bit of everything on that show. It's kind of unique. You'll see a little bit of a different format than most people here because we just have fun and talk about whatever we do. February of next year, we have a new rollout of a video cast called Total BS. Total BS will be on all of your streamlined networks. It's kind of a way of bringing the younger audience and the older audience together while discussing the paranormal and other situations in a educational, scientific, and fun view. So you're going to see some crazy lab experiments out in the field with some unique people. You're also going to see some funny skits that come in and out of that. Everything from paranormal butt cracks to a little bit of everything to make people laugh. And you're going to see some interesting interviews in between from people talking about stories and so forth. In addition, tune in next year. I'm not sure I'm allowed to tell you where, but you will see me in about 4 episodes next year and 4 episodes the year after that, all consisting of paranormal situations. Next year will be mostly Bigfoot situations, and the year after that will be UFO situations. So make sure you tune into your major stream channels because you get to see me in a little bit before I retire from the mainstream world. So pay attention to that. Otherwise, you can look me up on Facebook at any time, Christopher Houston, Paranormal Truth and Reality, which is also available, even though it's, 5 years old now, all over stream. If you look up Chris Houston, Paranormal Truth and Reality, feel free to listen to all 100 of my past shows.
I'd like to get everybody to get out there and listen to the last 175 of mine.
There you go.
Yeah.
I do.
I dare you.
Okay, Brandon, your time.
Hey, I dare you to get out and watch all 8 of my shows. So I do Shaman Sundays right here on the Bill of Rights Network, Sundays at 8 Central, 9 Eastern, depending on where I'm at. Depends on what time. I'm everywhere. Let's see. My guests next week or next Sunday will be PRI, Paranormal Research Institute. Should have about 3 or 4 guests on that one, depending on how many show up. It's going to be great. And then this Saturday, I'm pointing up. I get to hang out with this guy.
We're good. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm good. We're going to do a little horror movie thing, and that's right up my alley. So that's going to be fun. But yeah, I mean, really, if you have 30 minutes to kill, watch all my shows because you'll get it. That's it. I got Facebook and everything. Yeah, I mean, I can. I don't know.
Yeah, Atlas, if you have questions,
send us a question.
What's up?
Yeah, just throw them out there. We don't have a
We're just
hard stop.
talking and filling up.
Yep.
Yeah, Jeremy, horror movies are much fun.
Yeah, they are.
Tune in. You won't be disappointed.
That's right.
Yeah, Rex does a really good show.
And hopefully Jeremy's healing up from his surgery he had. So
as we wait for the question to be
well, we'll wait here a couple minutes for the question.
We need to get the Jeopardy theme song for this.
I actually have that sound I'm uploading for my show next week.
Are we allowed to use that?
I paid for it, so I would assume we're allowed to use it.
Oh, well, I mean, there you go.
Yeah, I paid for the rights for it for the year, so.
We need the Wheel of Fortune song, too, for when they're trying to come up with the last letters, because I found out that my aunt won $100,000 on one of those Wheel of Fortune, the mail-in game that they had back on TV back in the day.
Yeah.
she won that money. I'm like, oh well, I always thought it was because you were on Wheel of Fortune. I said,
Right.
I did tell her I was happy to hear it wasn't Maury Povich. Or
You are not the father.
we do have a Maury Povich story in my family, though.
Ooh, that's better than a Jerry Springer.
Actually, you know what? It was Jerry Springer. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I was gonna say I wasn't Maury Povich.
No, it was Jerry Springer.
What was that? What is that? So anyone on here on the psychic questions?
Yeah.
I guess it would depend on your questions when it comes.
Go ahead, ask it, Alice.
Sure, whatever. I knew you were going to say that.
We'll find it out.
You knew she was going to say that?
I knew you were going to say that.
If we don't know, we'll make it up.
Right. Yeah.
So
I'll go pick up dog food later.
I think we all come from different backgrounds, Alice. So at one point or another, we've all either dealt with psychic mediums, or some of us probably even have gifts. I think Denise actually has gifts, if I remember right, don't you, Denise?
Yeah.
If I have gifts, can I return them? Will they take them
No.
So
Carl wants to borrow it.
She's got gifts that they
24
can't
hours.
return.
I have
she can't loan
one
out,
gift that I never talk about because I don't like the
I don't
particular
either.
gift that I have.
Yeah, I have to take medicine for mine.
well, you know what? Next week when I have on June, I'm going to try to find out
Sorry,
how
Chris.
she can transfer.
Oh, you're fine.
her demon
If anything,
seed.
I should be taking medicine for mine too.
Oh, Alice is new to the show. She didn't know we had paranormal shows.
Oh, really?
Oh,
What do you see for
she's
me?
joking. She's saying LMAO.
Okay.
So-
There's a question.
I see you staring
well,
at a
there's
computer
no-
screen.
Yeah, we
I
don't
guess
have
we-
any.
We could explain
These
to
are not
Alice
the
a little
droids
bit.
you're looking for.
A little
Well,
bit
how
about.
about yeah? Why don't? I'm sorry, I cut you off, Chris.
Oh, you're fine. We could explain to Alice a little bit about some of our
Hang on, let me
backgrounds
get
and what
the
we do,
cards
so that
out.
she has kind of an idea of what each of us work directly in.
Yeah,
like,
we
Hang on, Alice. We'll get you an answer here.
Tarot cards. Here we go.
well, Chris, why don't you start it off? It was your idea. Why don't you give her your background?
My background, I have 30 years in the paranormal, Alice. Most of what I concentrate on is the history, the theology, the backgrounds, connecting the dots, the mythology, religious text and books that most people don't even get a chance to see. I've had the privilege of seeing and speaking with the different orientations and connecting the dots. I'm a very scientific and logical person, but I also, any theological questions you may have or any historic questions you may have, odds are, if I don't have it, I could get it for you like that, because that's what I've specialized in throughout, 20 years now, I think, guys? Maybe longer? I never keep track.
Right.
So I guess that we'll jump it over to Brandon over there next.
Yeah.
What do you do, Brandon?
Well, I am I'm actually a shaman. I grew up on the eastern band of the Cherokee Nation on the reservation there in Cherokee, North Carolina. I deal with the spiritual guidance and spiritual type healing aspects of human nature, and I'm sort of like the go-between between the spirits and the tribe, or well, I consider y'all my tribe, so go between, and I just sort of somebody put it the best way, and I can't think of what it is, but I'm your spiritual go between. That's kind of my background. I do have some abilities. I don't talk about it much, but
She's from the Hopi Indians.
hey, I have a really good friend named Marvin. He goes by Slow Walker. He was their chief out on Second Mesa, Arizona. I just talked to him the other day. He's out there in Hopi land. He just called me the other day. So Kwakwai, I believe, is Hopi for thank you. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
So Denise, tell them what gifts you got.
I got the gift of sarcasm to start
Hey, yeah.
with. I also have the gift of BS. I'm really good at that too, and I actually have a degree in that. But that's a whole different problem. So as with Chris, I do also have a analytical and historical background as well. So I'm got this data thing over here that's fighting with this I see spirits thing. And I've been seeing spirits for over 50 years at this point. So do I always see spirits? No. Do I always get a message? No. Do I call myself a medium? No. I'll tell you if I see something, if I don't, if I hear something, I'll tell you. Other than that, I will never, ever be I know it's your chair. Sorry. Sounds bad over here.
It was a demon.
It was a demon. Yeah, we had growling. Who'd have thunk? But yeah, there are, and on top of that, I'm also Cherokee and Blackfoot. So it is what it is. So right now, I can't tell you anything right now because I've cleared my head today of everything because we've got so much coming up. With the wedding tomorrow, it's been hard. We've got a lot of spirits have been coming to visit me. And so my mind is trying to keep all of them out of my head or to get the messages that they want me to share at the wedding tomorrow.
So what gifts does Ron have?
He's got me.
Oh, that's a gift. That's it.
And again, not returnable or refundable.
Yeah.
And he's got the language of cats. He can talk to cats.
I can talk to kitty cats.
What every woman loves to hear.
And Rex, what gift do you have?
Again, like I don't really talk about it, but the main thing is people will seek me out. I can tell if anybody's got an attachment, whether it's good or bad. It's something I ignored for years, but I couldn't anymore because the first time I actually used it was at a big event that we were doing. Chris and I had just got done speaking, and we had so many people show up that they were in the hallway. The room that we were in was full, and they were out in the hallway. So we ended our time and told everybody, come back to our booth, and we'll gladly talk to you some more. On the way back, this lady come up beside me, and she introduced herself, and she goes, "You can help me. I know you can." And I played dumb. I said, "Why? What do you mean?" But I knew what she was talking about. So we went back, and I cleared her, and my wife can atone to all this. She's seen me do it quite a bit. Her whole mood changed. Her face changed. She was bright and happy. She has contacted me over the years, and her life completely turned around. And after I was done with her, I ended up doing 6 more people that day. And I love doing it. I can also see if I'm at an investigation, they kind of show themselves to me, and the spirits do, and ask for help. And every time I go somewhere, I catch Rex is here to help us. Every single investigation I've ever done. So I've been in the paranormal basically all my life. I've been directly in it almost 12 years now with All Out Paranormal. And that's in a nutshell right there.
And Alice asks you, I believe, do you have a daughter?
Do I have a daughter? No.
Yep.
Not that you know of.
Well, man, I knew you were going to do that. That was between you and me. Actually, my wife's daughter. I mean, she's not directly my daughter, but yeah.
So,
speaking of daughters, I need to say this real quick since I'm going to be on the road tomorrow. My daughter, Katie, and she watches these shows. She turns 20 tomorrow.
Oh,
I love you, Katie, and I will be home soon. And I promise you I'll take you out to eat.
I got to put in a punt today, too. My daughter did her first solo in choir tonight, and it was
Nice.
amazing. She was
Oh.
wonderful. She was
Awesome.
nervous as a wreck, and she did an absolutely wonderful job. I am so proud of her. She did so
Did
good.
you videotape it?
Unfortunately, no, because she wouldn't let me.
Well, you know what she doesn't know won't hurt her or hurt you.
She wouldn't let you tape it, but
Well, she knows me. I'd have went all out. I mean, I've got like
channel.
2 or 3 professional cameras sitting
Right.
back here.
Yeah, but you know what? When they say don't, you get that little pocket one for your with the pen and put it on, and they don't know.
I think she's gonna have a heck of a career, though. She was wonderful. She's gonna be she really concentrates on it. I think she's gonna be great at acting, and she's an amazing singer.
And didn't you say next year she's going to be doing her own gaming channel?
Yep, we got a new podcast that we're going to pull out for her. I'm going to let her do her own gaming channel, and she's actually going to be punting a lot of us on videos that people give her. She's going to show the child's point of view from the paranormal.
Yeah, she's already been on there once, and it was a fantastic show. She did great for being on the spot. Yes.
Yeah.
The only feedback I have on those gaming shows is I hate the people that talk over the Roblox thing, giving it a story. It drives me nuts, and their voices are just cringy.
Oh, I know.
And because that's what I hear.
Yeah,
when he watches those things. And
One of our shows next year, I've got there's a guy that she watches all the time that's a good friend of mine that's been doing very well in the gaming world, and he's going to be on our show, and we're going to be on his show at the same time doing a paranormal game. So Joel and I are going to be playing while he's playing, and we're going to see who scares and chickens out first.
Well, I guarantee your daughter's probably heard of Jillian and Addie then. Jillian
Probably.
and they do wonderful parodies of the paranormal. It is hilarious watching these kids out of Pittsburgh do this. I mean, these kids are worth like $7 million.
Oh, yeah.
How in the world? I mean, that's a whole nother show.
Gaming podcasts, man. Jake is I've known him for years, and he does his own show, and he's worth millions of dollars right now. And that's all he does is he sits in that corner and plays and gripes about the games he's playing.
Yeah,
that's all he does.
We have got to find a way to make money doing this stuff because this is way too easy.
I'm working on it. That's why I got my new my whole new Total BS coming out. It's we're going to target that young generation, have some fun with it. I've got YouTubers that guided me through the process, some pretty famous ones actually that are fairly well known that have guided me through. Hey, look, if you want an audience, this is what you have to do.
As long as I don't have to lift up my shirt, I'm great. Because I don't have to lift it that far anymore.
Young kids watch the craziest stuff these days, and it's not just related to them. My wife watches these 2 guys, Rhett and Link, and they're amazing once you get into them. I went and saw them live, and they gave me some direction on how to do a podcast, but how to do a video cast properly. Mm-hmm. But the kids watch the craziest things these days on TV.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Well,
I don't understand it.
With Netflix, I know I'm watching stuff that I never thought I would ever watch. Like I just got finished watching The Midnight Club. I've never read the book, but now I want to read the book because it was a really good story.
It was interesting.
It was.
What's it about?
Oh, I'll have to explain that to you later. But, Ron's going to he's going to taste Netflix later on tonight. Maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow.
Tonight.
It starts at midnight. Or our time, 11 o'clock, we should be able to start seeing it.
Oh,
yeah.
So
well, I wish I could have told everybody what gift I have, but I think I've told Denise, and I may have discussed it off camera with Rex. I just don't talk about that. I have one gift, and I don't talk about it because I don't like the gift. I am good at it. I've had it utilized before, and I can guarantee you if I'm at a location with anybody on here or anywhere, if there is something bad there, it will show up. But I don't like to talk about it.
Understood.
Believe me, we all have a gift of some sort. Just how do we recognize it? And do we recognize it? But that's, like I said, that's a whole nother show too.
Yeah.
It is.
So, but like I said, everybody please come back next Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central so that you guys can hear the stories of Rhodey. We know Rhodey's going to have some great stories. We also know that Wendy's going to have some great stories. And so is, let me get back to my too many monitors here. Scott Johnston has some great stories. He'll probably talk about Farrar or Edinburgh or someplace up there in Iowa.
Anybody else, just let us know.
Yeah, and anybody else, let me know.
Right.
Please. So, but I think that we probably should end this since it is 10 o'clock.
Yep.
And because some of us have to travel tomorrow, right, Brandon?
Oh, yes, we do.
Both of us, we
Yep.
are all
We'll be on the same road at the same time.
Yes, we will. Like I said, maybe we can meet up in Columbia or somewhere.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll keep.
Did you eat White Castle at all on this trip?
No, but I will. I love White Castle.
Columbia, then.
Okay, we'll do that.
Brandon, I'll have to get you on my show and we'll talk some American Indian legends, and I'll pick your brain a little bit.
You know, I would love to. Just get with me. Yeah, I'd love to.
Right.
Cool.
Okay. So,
Well, hey, thanks for watching, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
catch you next Thursday.
Goodbye.
Yeah.